We begin the news by telling you that the federal government has pleaded with organized labor to reconsider its decision to embark on an indefinite strike from Monday, June 3, 2024, in protest against the government's refusal to raise the proposed minimum wage from 60,000 naira. The interest of the masses should be top priority of organized labor, the federal government stressed. Now, while describing the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress as partners in Project Nigeria, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Idris Mohammed, noted that industrial action was not the solution to the ongoing negotiation for a new minimum wage for workers. This came hours after organized labor declared a nationwide strike, which would begin on Monday, June 3, 2024, over the federal government's refusal to raise the proposed minimum wage from 60,000 naira. Now we move to Nigeria's capital, Abuja, where the country's organized labor union says they will commence a nationwide indefinite strike action from Monday, June the 3rd, until a new minimum wage is announced. The leadership of the unions made this known in Abuja, saying that government has refused to accede to their demands, which include the review of the national minimum wage and the reversal in the hike of electricity tariff. Now, Marvelous Obomanu has the report.
With inflation now well over 30% as of today, many Nigerians are unanimous in agreeing that a 30,000 naira minimum wage being received by workers is no longer tenable. Despite ongoing negotiations between the federal government and the organized labor, both teams have been unable to meet a compromise. While government has proposed about 60,000 naira against the figure being suggested by labor, this has been outrightly rejected by the labor negotiating team.
As of today, there is no minimum wage for Nigerian workers, technically. By the expiration of the act, by 18th of April. So as at now, we're operating without any law, backing up the minimum wage. They were talking about 100% increase. That's what they have offered. But the 100% increase amounts to one loaf of bread per day for 30 days. That's what it amounts. They are not looking at the quality or the value of what they are offering to us.
Another issue Labour is raising is the hike in electricity tariff. While recently, the union had protested, demanding a reversal, it is also calling on government to do the needful.
On the 13th of May, we had a protest to NEROC and to some of the discos, registering our displeasure. You know that up till today, there is no word from the government. Our demand was that there should be a reversal from 225 naira per kilowatt down to where it was before, 66 naira per kilowatt.
The president of the Trade Union Congress, Festus Osifo, during a joint news conference with the leadership of the Nigerian Labour Congress in Abuja, says Labour has concluded plans to commence an indefinite strike.
We are hereby declaring the commencement of a nationwide industrial action, a nationwide strike, effective from Monday, June 3rd, 2024. And this strike shall be indefinite. And this strike shall be on until we have a new national minimum wage.
Until we sign an agreement on what is mutually agreeable by the parties, our action will be on. But our action is not such that we will not equally negotiate. Because the two parties are now going to negotiate under duress. We're under pressure. They will be under pressure.
With many Nigerians still battling with the increasing cost of living, many are optimistic that government will yield to labor's demand and review the nation's minimum wage to a living wage. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Obomanu.
Meanwhile, the Abia State chapter of the Nigerian Labour Congress has promised to comply with the directive of the NLC and the Trade Union Congress to begin an indefinite nationwide strike on Monday. This was disclosed by the Abia NLC chairman, Ogbonnaya Okoro. The NLC and TUC declared the strike on Friday following the federal government's failure to conclude and pass into law a new National Minimum Wage Act and reverse the hike in electricity tariff to 65 naira per kilowatt hour. Now joining me on the news to discuss this is Comrade Kayode Surajuddin Alakija, his second Deputy President, Trade Union Congress and National President of Senior Staff Association of Statutory Corporations and Government-Owned Companies. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for joining me at this time.
Good afternoon. And thank you for having me. Good afternoon, viewers.
It's a pleasure. All right, now, from a labor perspective, now is the proposed 60,000 naira minimum wage considered a fair and livable income for Nigerian workers, considering the high cost of living?
It is not a fair wage for Nigerian workers. If you look at the proposed 60,000, when the minimum wage was reviewed in 20 naira. If you look at it, it was equivalent to $84. We are talking of the real value of the money, not the volume. The 60,000 being proposed now, even if you look at it at the current exchange dollars, it's a wage that cannot take anybody home. It's a wage that Nigerian worker cannot. You are talking of 60,000. A loaf of bread now is about 2,000 naira. Are you saying that is just a wage to give you a loaf of bread added to eat? So this is very, very unacceptable. And that is why Labour have said, and we are going ahead with the proposed strike until and when negotiation is able to reach a common ground as to what is acceptable to Nigerian workers.
All right, Comrade, we seem to be having network issues coming from your end as your line keeps breaking. What you say keeps breaking, but hopefully it's better now. Still talking about, the trade union and the labor union leaders talking about, the strike going on until they come to a consensus. Now, how will the nationwide strike action likely impact different sectors of the Nigerian workforce, particularly the vulnerable or even the low-wage earners?
Well, we have sensitized our and if this is the sacrifice we all need to make our all Nigerians must be ready to make this sacrifice. We know it's going to have serious impact, but then we all have to endure and bear it, such that our future can be better. Nigerian project, but at the same time, we also deserve to have a with the current happenings in the economy. We all know how we got. Knew when the subsidy was removed, and when we also these are two major policies that has really affected Nigerians, and they're so that we can make our life better. I don't think it's too much a sacrifice for to bear with us, so that at least we can get a better future.
All right. Well, thank you so much, sir, for joining us and speaking to us on this.
You're welcome.
All right. Now, away from that, suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police, Abba Kyari, has been released from the Kuje Custodial Center in the Federal Capital Territory after spending 27 months in detention. Kyari was detained following his arrest on February 14, 2022 by the National Drug Law and Enforcement Agency for alleged involvement with an international drug cartel. On May 22, 2024, Judge Emeka Nwite granted Kyari bail to allow him to conclude the burial rites of his mother, who died on May 5th. The court scheduled May 31, 2024 for the hearing on Kyari's main application for bail about the drug trafficking charges. Now, giving updates, the spokesperson of the Nigerian Correctional Service of the Federal Capital Territory Command, Adamu Doza, confirmed to newsmen that Kyari met his bail conditions and was released on Friday. To security matters, where we understand that 11 people, all male, have been declared wanted for various criminal offences by security operatives in Plateau State. At a joint security press briefing which took place at the headquarters of Operation Safe Haven in Jos, the Plateau State capital, the men in uniform said they will not rest on their oars in ensuring the wanted persons are apprehended and brought to book. Correspondent Chizoba Nyongwe was there for News Central and now reports.
Some parts of Plateau State over the past 20 years have come under different forms of attacks by gunmen who have remained unidentified. Most recent incident is the 2023 Christmas Eve attacks that took the lives of dozens. However, these security operatives on the plateau say they are determined more than ever before to reduce crime and criminality in all its forms to the barest minimum.
Operation Safe Haven has continued to take proactive steps towards securing lives and property in the joint operations area. These efforts have been occasionally derailed by activities of enemies of peace. The attack on parts of Burkina Faso and Boko's local government areas of Plateau State on the Christmas Eve of 2023 is a case in focus. Also, while concerted efforts were being made to restore peace and stability in the area, some other criminals struck in parts of Boko's and Mangu local government areas on the 19th and 20th April 2024 and on 8th May 2024, which resulted in the loss of lives and property.
With the number of lives lost, many others injured and maimed, and property destroyed and looted by the so-called unknown gunmen, the question now is, will these uniformed men allow these marauders have their way?
In line with the mandate of Operation Safe Haven, we have not rested on our oars in the efforts to bring perpetrators of these heinous crimes to face justice. In this regard, we have sustained intelligence-led operations which led to the neutralization in contact with some of the perpetrators, as well as the arrest of most of the criminals who participated in the attacks. For those here at large, over time we exploited the use of technology to conduct forensic examination. We reveal their identities. Consequently, the foreign persons are wanted for questioning for their complicity in attacks at different locations in Plateau State.
Despite many arrests made so far and interrogations ongoing, any member of the public that would aid in the arrest of these men on the run stand a chance of being rewarded. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyonwe.
Abia State government has promised to bring to justice those responsible for the killing of 5 army officers in Abba on Thursday. The state government, in a press statement issued by Information Commissioner Oke Kanu, condemned the dastardly act and announced a 25 million naira bounty for information leading to the arrest of the perpetrators. An expanded Security Council meeting, including the newly inaugurated Advisory Council, the Commissioner of Police, Kenechukwu Onwumele, and the Special Advisor to the Governor on Security, McDonald Uba, addressed the incident. The CP assured that the law will take its full course on those involved in the attack at Obikabia Junction in Abba, while Uba expressed deep sorrow over the killings.
Incident, and it's highly condemnable, and indeed it's cowardly. But it happened yesterday, and all I can tell you is that the security agencies, the government of Abia State, and all well-meaning Nigerians feel very bad about what has happened, and everything that needs to be done will be done to ensure that it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, as citizens, I advise we remain law-abiding, remain calm. Anyone who sees something should say something. security is everybody's business. I use this opportunity to say that anybody who has credible information as to lead us to apprehending the perpetrators of this act.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now we head to Delta State, where displaced residents of Okwama community in the state are calling for improved living conditions at the Ewu Grammar School IDP camp. The community was raised by the military in March following the killing of 17 soldiers. And many residents initially resisted relocating to the camp, but eventually agreed after a meeting with the state governor. However, after 4 days at the camp, concerns remain about their well-being. News Central's Austin Azu, who visited them in their IDP camp, completes the report.
It has been few days since the arrival of these Okwama returnees after the bloodbath that displaced them from their ancestral home back to the IDP camp in Ewu Grammar School in Ewu Robo Kingdom, traditional headquarters of the Ewu people. How have they fared since their arrival to the camp?
They suffer for the camp. They be food. One, no medicine, no food. Once a day, now they shop for food for the camp. So now they beg, make the government help.
See the rice where we they eat. It no reach us to eat. No fish, no meat, nothing.
Since on Monday, now we dey here. So first of all, the first time we eat once. The following day, now see once. Yesterday we managed to eat 2 times because the population they are plenty. Not be say the government not they try, but may they still try more. We still need more help.
Despite the challenges, the Rural Progress Union Worldwide Youth Wing has provided food items to support the displaced persons. The union's president urged the residents to comply with the camp rules, assuring them that the state government has their best interest at heart.
It is necessary we cater or we support the Okwama people, the mothers, the young ones, the old ones, and all of them with a little of our support for them, which as the time goes, we shall also come back.
First, I want to thank Urobo youth all over the world. What we did is that we posted it, that our mothers are displaced. They will need food in these trying times. What do we do? If you have 1,000, 2,000, send it. And the contribution, think about 17 persons donated and supported the program. With the help of the president of the UPU, we were able to gather this money and we purchased.
The camp chairman revealed that over 1,000 displaced persons have registered, with about 300 currently residing in the camp. He emphasized the importance of daily meals and called for additional support for well-meaning individuals.
There were preparations ahead before they started coming. We had a stock of rice, gari, basic food items. And so when they came, it was not like they came into nothing. There was food. And then things took off. But as with every process, the beginning will always be rough.
Okwama residents initially rejected the IDP camp, but later agreed to relocate following New Central Town Hall meeting and discussions with the state government. In Delta, for News Central, Austin Azu.
Let's now tell you that Nigeria's Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee held a policy exposure workshop with journalists in Lagos. The purpose was to inform journalists about the draft of the 2024 National Fiscal Policy and its proposed constitutional amendments on fiscal matters. News Central's business correspondent, Perpetua Fasomi-Peter, was there and filed this report.
7 months after submitting the Quick Wins report, the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee holding a policy exposure session with journalists. The purpose of this session is to intimate them with recommendations in the 2024 National Fiscal Policy and other amendments that are geared towards making the tax system better in Nigeria.
Do away with nuisance taxes with very low revenue yield which are very costly to collect and place a lot of burden on the poor and small businesses. Do away with them. Then focus on high revenue yielding taxes that are broad-based and relatively easy to collect, and they are few in numbers. Then merge them together if they are similar and impose on the same tax base so that instead of paying 4, I pay only 1. And keep the total number of taxes across all levels of government to a single digit and then institutionalize the reform so that they don't reverse it.
In line with the committee's vision to harmonize tax collection and streamline the number of taxes to 8 categories, it proposed the creation of a central tax agency to be known as the National Revenue Service. It also proposed a 5% reduction in the country's company income tax rate, a steady custom import duty rate of 800 naira to $1, and seeks to exempt of the informal sector from all taxes.
Our proposals cannot be approved if it's going to mean that government will lose a lot of money. Our estimation is more than 60%. So we thought that we also need to do an upward adjustment to VAT rate on items that are not food, education, health, accommodation, transportation. What that means is if you are buying a mobile phone, once our proposal is approved, you then have to pay a little bit more. You are buying a car, you need to pay a little bit more. But if you are a business, the extra you are paying, you are claiming everything back, so it still doesn't affect you as a business.
Some of the committee's proposed constitutional amendments on fiscal matters include 1. Qualification for election, Section 65, 135 and 177, which seeks to ensure that individuals meet their tax obligations before contesting elections. 2. Presidential pardon, Section 175, which seeks to exclude individuals convicted of corruption from presidential pardon. Another is budgetary reforms.
Since government has to come up with a budget every year for them to spend, based on the Constitution, why can't we amend the Constitution to say, as we are coming to tell you the budget for next year, please bring the audited account for the previous year? It's just logic, isn't it? And common sense.
This is what analysts and economists think about the recommendations.
Looking at what this committee is doing, I'm an excited Nigerian and a business owner. I'm sure Mr. President is waiting with his pen to sign off on what they produce eventually. So I'm not worried about the executive signing off. I'm more worried about what happens when the recommendation gets to the National Assembly. The
committee, inaugurated by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, operates on 3 pillars: fiscal governance, revenue transformation, and economic growth facilitation. Having completed the drafting of the amendments, the committee aims to secure all necessary approvals by the end of the 3rd quarter of 2024. Change management, implementation of new technologies, and training are scheduled for Q4 2024. In Lagos, for News Central, Perpetua Fasomi Peter.
Located along Alpha Beach Road in Lekki Phase 2, Atlantic View Estate stands as a testament to organized community living. Populated by responsible and reputable residents, the estate should epitomize comfort and convenience. However, beneath this facade lies a tale of struggle and frustration, primarily stemming from the deplorable state of electricity supply in the Alpha Beach area. News Central's Bettina Ngweli has the report.
For over 2 years, residents of Atlantic View Estate in Lekki, Lagos have been living in near darkness despite being classified under Band B, which supposedly guarantees at least 16 hours of daily electricity. The residents endure a meager 3 hours of power a week, making daily life a struggle.
2 ridiculous years. We've done everything legally right. We buy our own transformers. We're all on generators. We get maybe an average of 3 hours light in a whole week for the last 2 years. That's ridiculous. And we're supposedly on Band B, which means that we're entitled to at least 16 hours light a day.
The Eco Electricity Distribution Company blames a faulty feeder supplying the area. However, residents point out the inconsistency as neighboring estates serviced by the same feeder have significantly better electricity access. This disparity has fueled frustration and led residents to organize peaceful protests to demand their rights.
This morning we had a very fruitful discussion, and we said that
we feel your pain, we understand your grievances, and we promise that we are going to look at it to come up with a very short-term solution, at least that will provide some kind of succor to them before the lasting solution will be completed. So what we agree is that they should give us 1 week to look at general overview of what are the problems and then what are the immediate solutions that we can prefer.
I also learned that some areas pay to have lights. We will not bribe EKDC to have lights. We will not do it. Else, it got to my notice now that some areas paid millions. That's why they have the benefit of having steady, constant light. But we will not pay EKDC. We're doing what we're doing. It's our right as citizens to have light.
The situation at Atlantic View Estate exposes the deep flaws in the electricity distribution system. Unfulfilled promises and constant excuses plague the system, leaving residents without a basic necessity. Access to electricity is not a privilege, but a fundamental right. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
Thank you, Bettina, for that report. Now, let's stay in Lagos, where recovery efforts ended at the scene where a 3-story building collapsed in Lagos Island, Nigeria, early Thursday morning. While heavy equipment and officials from the local building control agency have mobilized to the site, progress in debris removal have been slow due to heavy rainfall. News Central's Nii Omoni has more details.
Emergency responders rescued 10 individuals from the rubble of a 4-story residential building that collapsed in Lagos Island, Lagos. Clearance operations to remove remaining debris from the site, known as Ground Zero work, are pending commencement, especially due to the heavy downpour.
Information given to us yesterday by the Lagos State Emergency Management Authority that there's going to be a Ground Zero operation as at this morning. Well, a few minutes ago, there was an heavy downpour, so of course operations couldn't start. But as we can see, there are few members of the Lagos State Building Control Agency trickling in, and of course trying to check their equipment. I want to believe that the Ground Zero operation will begin shortly.
Eyewitness accounts corroborate the reported number of rescued victims, as emergency management authorities have not extracted any additional persons following search and rescue efforts. Attention has now turned to a neighboring 4-story building directly across from the collapsed structure. Occupants were observed rapidly evacuating their belongings as local stakeholders intend to deconstruct the building, which authorities had previously deemed unsafe. Speaking off the record, stakeholders mentioned the affected building had been issued a vacate order 6 months prior. Occupants are only authorized to retrieve items they own, not any fixtures already installed.
Actually, that place is so controversial that suggesting that we were supposed to renovate that place about 2 years ago, but the developer came on with another idea that we should pay him for two years. I'm one of the occupants on that particular one. All my goods, everything in that shop, I have not removed any pin out of that place. So then the one on my left and the one on my right, every tenant there is packing away. That's what we're doing this morning.
As of the time of filing this report, Ground Zero clearance is yet to begin. However, evacuation equipment and assessment personnel from the Lagos State Building Control Agency are standing by. Further demolitions of additional structures may occur based on the agency's evaluation, including a building currently undergoing renovations behind the fallen building. In Lagos for News Central, Nii Omoni.
The news continues in West Africa, where a prominent Burkina Faso lawyer and civil society leader has been jailed on charges of participating in a plot against the country's military rulers during days after he was freed from prison. Guy Hervé Cam appeared at a military court accused of hatching a plot to try and overthrow the West African country's junta. The judges said Cam plotted with others to target the lives of officials. After Cam was detained in January, A court ordered his release the following month, a decision confirmed on appeal on April 23rd. Now to South Africa. Spokesman of Zuma's Umkhonto weSizwe party, Lamulon Delela, says the party won't engage with the ANC of Cyril Ramaphosa as the country awaits the final election results. The African National Congress is now all but certain to fall below 50%, forcing the party to seek a coalition partner to have enough backing to name a president and form a government.
Asking me about the Cyril Ramaphosa ANC. We won't engage with the ANC of Cyril Ramaphosa. We can have a discussion with the ANC. But the ANC of Cyril Ramaphosa? How is that possible? The fact of the matter is we could be in a position very soon where we will make the determination who becomes president, and whoever becomes president will be told that you're going to give President Zuma presidential pardon, and when he gives the presidential pardon, we'll bring President Zuma back in his National Assembly, put him back as president. Simple as that, before we even change the constitution.
The ANC is quite elated with the latest figures, where we are now at 4 million and our immediate contender is at 2 million. We appreciate the support that we received from the voters. As you know, we all do not know the total number of the voter turnout. We only know the registered being 27. But for now, we are quite comfortable with what we have. That man did very well for the ANC. He led from the front. He did miraculous canvassing, crisscrossed the country. In one day, we'll address 4 or 5 meetings. And in the ANC, we don't work that way. It's not a presidential election. It was an election that the ANC went in as a party, and we're happy with it. And we really want to thank him for all the efforts that he has made. So all those that are doing any speculation don't know the ANC.
The Commission will declare the results of this election sometime over the weekend, after which the list of elected representatives will be published in the Government Gazette and thereafter handed over to the Chief Justice for purposes of convening the first meeting.
We now head up north of the African continent, where units of the Royal Moroccan Armed Forces and American forces have taken part in air and land military maneuvers in Tantan, southern Morocco, during the closing of the Moroccan-American military exercise called African Lion. General Michael Langley, commander of the United States Africa Command, during a speech, said the exercise marks 20 years of work with Moroccan and other international partners to build fundamental cooperation and mutual support.
It's a beautiful day, a beautiful way to cap off the exercise of African Lion 2024. And as you know, that African Lion is United States Africa Command in partnership with the Kingdom of Morocco. It's a premier multinational combined joint exercise. This milestone year for this exercise marks 20 years of working with our Moroccan and our other international partners to build a foundational cooperation and mutual support. This exercise has grown over the years since 2004, not only in the number of multinational service members that we train with, but also the scope of the training as well is expanded more than just a security construct. It was also stabilization.
فقد أصبح تمرين أسد إفريقي محطة لأكبر مناورة عسكرية تعرفها القارة الإفريقية، وملتقى لأزيد من 20 دولة ودول عن حلف شمال الأطلسي، كلها تعمل تحت سقف وطائر هذا التمرين من أجل الرفع من مستوى جاهزيتها وتوافقيتها، تحسبا للعمل المشترك من أجل مواجهة التحديات التي بإمكانها أن تمس الأمن والسلم سواء على المستوى.
India's six-week election reached its final day of voting Saturday, including in the holy city, which Prime Minister Narendra Modi has used as a staging post for his Hindu nationalist agenda. Modi is widely expected to win a third term in office when results are announced on Tuesday, in large part due to his cultivated image as an aggressive champion of India's majority faith. The 73-year-old constituency of Varanasi is the spiritual capital of Hinduism, where devotees from around India come to cremate deceased loved ones by the Ganges River. It is one of the final cities to vote in India's grueling election and where public support for Modi's ever closer alignment of religion and politics burns brightest.
I voted for growth and development of my country and world. So there is only one leader that I know, that's world leader right now, Narendra Modi. I voted for him. Since I was grown up, I've seen discussions in my family. It's too hot, better not go right now. Let's do it evening, and it never happens.
Because I'm voting for BJP because Narendra Modi is one of the only great men in India. Before 10 years, no one is known for the Prime Minister of India. Who is the Prime Minister of India? This is the only one and only person who knows, who spread his knowledge and power to the all over the not only India, but also whole the country, whole of the world.
नेशनल लेवल पर बेरोजगारी को उनको ठीक करना चाहिए था और जो उन्होंने वादे किए थे पिछले चुनाव में और उसके पहले चुनाव में, वो अपने वादों को पूरा करना चाहिए था। 154 वादे किए थे, उसको पूरा करना चाहिए था। जैसे 15 लाख रुपए देने की बात कही थी, हर साल 2 करोड़ रोजगार देने की बात कही थी, वो उनको एटलीस्ट देना चाहिए था, क्योंकि आबादी रोज बढ़ रही है और रोजगार रोज मिल नहीं रहे हैं, रोजगार कम हुए हैं।
For us, there is a huge employment increases, like huge, in a huge level.
A Chinese defense official has accused the United States of seeking to build an Asia-Pacific version of NATO to maintain its hegemony in the region and describes the superpower as the greatest challenge to regional peace and stability. Lieutenant General Jing Zhaifeng made the remarks on the sidelines of a major security forum in Singapore, where U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin earlier hailed a new era of security for the region.
证明美国才是国际秩序的最大烂源，全球治理进程的最大绊脚石，地区和平稳定的最大挑战。近年来，美方背弃承诺，虚化掏空一中原则，驻台谋独，武装台湾，搅乱台海。解放军绝不允许台湾从中国分裂出去。台独等于战争，解放军练兵备战绝不停息，打突促统绝不停步，错步外来干涉绝不手软，坚决完成捍卫。
Indonesia President-elect Prabowo Subianto says the country is ready to send significant peacekeeping forces as well as medical personnel to Gaza if Hamas accepts a new ceasefire proposal. U.S. President Joe Biden announced the Israeli roadmap to permanent peace in Gaza on Friday as Israeli troops pushed into central Rafah despite international objections to any assault on the southern city. Prabowo, who will succeed President Joko Widodo in October after winning the February elections, welcomed the plan, describing it as an important step to ending the war.
We are prepared to contribute significant peacekeeping forces to maintain and monitor this prospective ceasefire, as well as providing protection and security to all parties and to all sides. We are also prepared to immediately send medical personnel to operate field hospital in Gaza with the consent and agreement
In business, Kenya will invest $100 million in Africa Development Bank, Afrexim Bank, and Trade Development Bank to enable it to increase its shareholding in the institutions in the next 3 years. The country is one of the beneficiaries of AFDB's financial might through financing in energy, water and sanitation, and also roads. Through AFDB financing, the country built Thika Superhighway, increased electricity penetration from 27% to 76% in the last decade, and built water and sanitation projects in 28 towns. Nigerian lawmakers are seeking to limit the central bank's control over economic policy by proposing to set up a committee to coordinate monetary and fiscal policies headed by the finance minister, according to a bill in the Senate. The proposal by a member of the ruling party comes as inflation in Africa's most populous nation hit a 28-year high of 33.69% in April amid sluggish economic growth and currency woes. Under the proposed law, the central bank would be in charge of monetary policies as before, but a new committee headed by the finance minister would be responsible for coordinating monetary and fiscal policies. Some economists say that adding a committee to coordinate monetary and fiscal policies could severely weaken the central bank. And that's it at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our top stories. We told you that Nigerian government pleads for time as labor strike begins on Monday. We also told you that Burkina Faso jails prominent lawyer Hervé Camp. Finally, you heard that South African political parties jostle to set terms of coalition talks. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Abba TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.